here, we received the program, we received the invitation, and so we have come with our own expectations. As you read the program, Homophobia, the churches in Africa in dialogue, indeed the word dialogue is critical to this gathering. We want all of you to own this gathering. It's not something that the other foundation organized, it's yours as well. And so for now, before we elicit some responses from you, I just want you to turn to the person next to you who is sharing your desk and just say what your expectations are for this program before we get our speakers to speak. Just say for a minute or two, what are your expectations? I'm sorry to cut you short because I know that theologians, pastors, we can talk, this is a topic that we can engage the whole day. But I just wanted your voices and your expectations to be out there. Okay, let's come together because for a few minutes we're just going to share, some of the reflections. So I think I have a moving mic. So I'm going to elicit around 3 or 4, um, contributions that will say exactly what your group or what you yourself feel is the expectation of this meeting. Anyone who wants to kick this off? Please say your name and speak as loud as you can.
My name is Judith Coetzee. I'm Director of Inclusive and Affirming Ministries. And I want to kick us off to say, as you have welcomed us in this space, even with Ecclesia, a colleague of our but the journey Ecclesia has had within the Methodist space, the journey we've had over many years in this seminary, working on diversity, engaging as an NGO with an institution like the Methodist Church, and all both the hardships and the moments of hope and inspiration that is real. So I want to start off as saying, I'm standing here as somebody, as a lesbian, as a Dutch Reformed minister, in the process of faith communities and giving that as my life purpose to journey towards inclusion. And I stand here and say, it's inspirational to see all of you here. It's an inspiration because to continue this as a journey of hope and not a journey of despair will need us to inspire each other for the long run. So as I'm standing here, I'm expecting these 2 days to inspire us to address what is huge and complex, but needs us to take it forward, to celebrate diversity and proudly do that and say, by the grace of God, I am who I am. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. This is the spirit that we want to capture. Anyone else? We've got room for another 2 or 3 spirited contributions. Yes, over there.
Thank you. My name is Pumzile from Inerela. My expectation was to see the heads of churches and hear from them whether we are changing the policies and whether there is change actually in the church. I'm a religious leader myself, and there are lots of things that are said in the church but that are not done or happening. So we need to be talking about that. But then my colleague here, Fatima, she identified something very important. The fact that the theme is a bit negative, don't hate. So we'd like to hear what is it that we're supposed to be doing if you're encouraging us not to hate.
Thank you. One more. Yes, Wafana, thank you.
I think in contrast to what Pumzile was saying, we were sharing here that we find a huge contradiction where the church is supposed to be a church of love, unconditional acceptance. And yet it is the place where you find most homophobia. And we need to bridge that gap. And Tebogo was saying, you know, a lot of these problems stem from the fact that the church reinforces hate when it should actually be spreading love. And we are hoping that at least through this intervention, we will begin to get the church back on the correct direction, which is that of loving and embracing.
Thank you very much. And I think the three contribution reflects, I think, most of our expectations. And so now I'll call on Bella to come forward with the panel so that they can tell us more and see whether our expectations are being met. Thank you very much.
I am absolutely thrilled to be with you at this dialogue. I'm here in my capacity as the co-chairperson of the Board of Trustees of the Other Foundation, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us this morning. My panelists, you will see their identities being broadcasted on our media, but I'll start with Maxime. And Maxime, I'd like to ask you, why have you joined us this morning?
Thank you. I'm happy you didn't try to pronounce my last name. I'm here on behalf of the Open Society Foundations, and just as many have already said at the beginning of this meeting, also feel very humbled to be here and very inspired by the positive presence in the room and the energy I already feel here, although we're just starting, so I can only imagine what it would feel like and how empowering it will be by the end of the 2 days of this event. This work is very important for the Open Society Foundations. We started it, one of the first grants that we've given in this field was in 2009, 7 years ago, here in South Africa and also in Namibia. And as this work has grown and our support for this work has grown, as a global foundation, we could also see that the work that you are doing in Southern Africa, in East Africa, some of you in West Africa as well, you are really leading the world in this kind of direct contact and direct engagement, transformational engagement with religious leaders. But also throughout developing this work and working with many of you, our partners and grantees, we realized that sometimes you meet us more often than you have the opportunity to talk to each other and to share your experiences, best practices, knowledge, so that the work of each of you in individual countries becomes better and stronger. And for us, I think this is the biggest expectation from this event.
Thank you very much, Maxime. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Gerald, unconditional love and acceptance. How do we have a dialogue about unconditional love and acceptance?
Right. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Ujamaa Center and the university, we want to welcome you to Pietermaritzburg. And I wanted to say how proud I am of Reverend Samanga Kumalo and the Methodist Church and the Methodist Seminary for opening up this space and taking the side of love rather than the side of hate. I think we need to recognize that the terrain of struggle around this issue is primarily religious terrain, religious and theological. And this has come out in all of those of you who spoke this morning already, from Professor Kumalo and all the rest of you have spoken. You've highlighted the contradiction at the heart of religion. Now, we've chosen to focus on the churches, but this would be true for almost any other religious tradition as well. We've bracketed that. But in terms of the churches, religion, theology is a site of struggle. And this is the site of struggle that the Ujamaa Center occupies and inhabits. And this is where our work is based. And so my expectation is that although we should learn about the psychological, the sociological, the political, the economic dimensions of this, that we do not allow the religious to go uninterrogated. Because I think it's no good if we become able to analyze the social issues, but are unable to deal fundamentally with the religious issues. In Africa, there will be no social change without religious change.
Thank you very much, Gerald. Thank you, Gerald. Douglas, I'm going to ask you from the Council of Churches, what do you believe that churches can do to affirm dignity in the people of Africa, no matter what our identities are?
Thank you, Bella. I first would like to welcome you all on behalf of KwaZulu-Natal Christian Council, also on behalf of the ecumenical movement in KwaZulu-Natal. I especially welcome the church leaders that have agreed to join us here. I agree with Reverend Mabizela that the church leaders that are here are not particularly heads of churches, but they are leaders in their own churches who are committed. They are, sorry, they are church leaders that are committed to justice, committed to transforming the church, and so we really appreciate that. Secondly, I also welcome, give a special welcome to the Council of Churches that have decided to come to join us in this dialogue, the Western Cape Council of Churches and the Gauteng Council of Churches. So we have 3 Council of Churches joining us in this dialogue. I think it's not an insignificant shift. It's a major shift for us. As you know, that this issue of homophobia or homosexuality is a very, very highly contested issue in the churches. It's a very, very, it's an issue that has caused lots of divisions in many churches. So to have quite a significant number, I think we have about 15 church leaders from KwaZulu-Natal and the representatives of 3 ecumenical councils, council of churches. So that is quite a significant step. So the role of the churches in this whole issue, I think, well, I'll talk about it more when I talk about the work that we've been doing. But for now, I think this is an opportunity for the church to come face to face with the violence of discrimination, to come face to face with the shared stories of rape, shared stories of discrimination, shared stories of murder. So it's an opportunity for church leaders to come face to face with these issues, grapple with them, participate in the dialogue that is going to happen about these issues. It's an opportunity for church leaders to think deeper about questions of human dignity, respect of life, and the issue of love that is preached every Sunday. It's an opportunity for the church to deliberate on the question that almost all churches agree with, that segregation is not allowed. That I think is preached by all the church leaders and pastors and prophets, etc. They agree that discrimination is not okay. But then we have homophobia and the discrimination and the stigmatization in the churches, which is paradoxical. It's an opportunity for the church to listen, because often we all go to church and we are there to listen to the church leaders, to the bishops. We are there to listen in church what is correct. And often what is preached about homosexuality is probably not what is correct, not what is right. So it's an opportunity for the church to listen. So I'm sure this conference will have a way of disseminating the outcomes and deliberations of this to heads of churches, the church leaders and council of churches that are here. I think should find ways of disseminating the information to the other two heads of churches so that they can grapple more with these issues. I think this is an opportunity for re-education, because often, Professor Kumalo, when the students come from the college here, they go out there and they say, we've done it, we are done, we are clergy, we are qualified. But I think education continues. This is an opportunity of re-education, learning from the context, from experiences of people, as a way of contributing towards change and transformation. So it's an opportunity of starting a journey of understanding each other. As we share the stories and the experiences, how do we understand each other and how do we move forward in networks and partnerships? And I think it's also perhaps an opportunity for the church, heads of churches and church leaders that are here to repent and ask for forgiveness if there is any, well, of course, depending on what will be shared, this will be an opportunity for that kind of platform. So a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So I think this is one step in that direction of transformation. So thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much, Douglas, for those words and for having the courage to say something in the space that we are sharing in the spirit of dialogue. And that's why we are here, to talk about difficult things with the spirit of dialogue. I'd like to thank my sister Tumi for stepping up. On your program, it says Anthony was meant to be here. Unfortunately, Anthony has been unable to join us due to an issue at their office that they are tackling. So Tumi, thank you for stepping in.
Thanks, Bella.
And I wonder, Tumi, if you could share with us very publicly your own prayer for what this dialogue will do. What would your prayer sound like?
I think my prayer would be, Lord, as God had, Jesus, when he left, he said the greatest command is love. And I think everybody here resonates with that, that we're here with a spirit of love, of humility, of ubuntu, and that is what we would like to carry on throughout these 2 days. And not just these 2 days, but as Bob Douglas said, it's that first step that counts. And I look forward to many more dialogues and changes within our church, that our LGBTI can actually go into churches, present themselves as how they would like to be seen, to be identified as the identity that they portray, they have, and to be welcomed and feel at home and not be seen as a gale force of evil. So, yes.
Thank you, Tumi. Thank you very much.
I won't summarize, I won't repeat anything. What I'm going to say is that let's have the dialogue, and let's have it with courage, with love, and with mutual understanding. Thank you all for listening to my fantastic panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ezra?